wild encounter is turning the evolutionary order completely upside down. When a creature meant to be on the move willingly steps down to provoke the ruling king, a brutal reckoning officially begins. Lion vs. Baboon, a battle for survival in Kruger. That reckoning plays out in Kruger, one of the most ruthless survival arenas on the planet, where the line between predator and prey is traditionally drawn by sheer size and raw muscle. But at the height of a punishing dry season, when the heat scorches every living thing and water sources dry up, that ironclad law is suddenly challenged in a wasteland known as the Valley of Ash. Here, resources are so depleted that every species is forced into inescapable head-on confrontations. Right at the center of this punishing natural fortress, along the high, sprawling rock faces, lies the untouchable domain of the Morrow Troop. This is no ordinary baboon troop. It is a primate empire of hyper-intelligent individuals, wielding a complex community security network that operates like a highly organized military force from above. Yet right beneath the stone fortress of this primate tribe, the ground belongs to a far more ruthless power, the Savu Shadow Pride. In the blazing midday sun, the Pride's lead lioness, Zira, is executing a hunting sequence perfectly programmed by millions of years of predatory evolution. Her target is an oblivious antelope caught off guard at the edge of the brush. The gap is down to just a few meters. Zira presses her body flat against the cracked red earth, capitalizing on the dense thickets to completely vanish from her prey's line of sight, while patiently sinking her claws into the dirt to ensure absolute silence. A perfect headwind favors the hunter, masking the pungent scent of the apex cat. Every variable from the terrain and lighting to her tactics points to a single outcome: a lightning-fast pounce and an imminent bloodbath. But just as Zira's 200-pound muscular frame coils to its absolute limit, ready to launch, an anomaly completely outside the laws of biology erupts. From the crown of an ancient acacia tree well beyond the lioness's field of view, the amber eyes of the alpha male, Rako, have tracked her entire stalk. Without a moment's hesitation, Rako bears a mouthful of massive fangs and lets out a piercing shriek that rips through the valley's silence. It is the maximum security alarm call of the Morrow tribe. The moment the signal hits, the antelopes snap their heads up and bolt like arrows, slicing through the scorching air into the deep woods. Zira's flawless hunt completely falls apart in less than half a second. Blindsided by fury, Zira aborts the hunt to punish the arrogant intruder. She charges straight for the base of the tree, driving her claws into the bark as she attempts to scale the lower branches. But Rako and the Morrow tribe refuse to back down. They swarm the branches, thrashing, screeching maniacally, and raining down a violent barrage of sticks and leaves. At the height of the chaos, the baboons launch a coordinated chemical assault, defecating directly onto the lioness's face. Blinded and disoriented by the sudden barrage, the ruler of the ground loses her footing and crashes into the red dust. Humiliated and powerless, Zira is forced to retreat into the shadows, left with an empty stomach and bone-deep resentment. Looking at this showdown, if you were out there in real life, would you ever dare to stand your ground and mock a starving, furious lion? To the natural world, this is far from a mere failed hunt. Zira has been humiliated by a creature that belongs on her menu. The initial blood debt has been recorded, and the Savu Shadow Pride will never forget the face of the one who just disgraced them. The dynamic of a slighted sovereign must temporarily be set aside in the shade. For in this punishing arena, no creature can survive on fury alone. The Morrow Baboon Troop must return to the practical business of survival on the ground. Out on the wild plains, a unique ecological relationship has long existed between baboons and impala herds. This is no intentional alliance, but rather the exploitation of each other's biological strengths to maximize survival. Baboons, capitalizing on their elevated vantage points, are always the first to spot danger. Launching alarm shrieks the moment an apex cat materializes. The impala moving below fully benefit from this early warning system to proactively evade threats. Furthermore, as the troop climbs and strips branches for fruit above, the discarded scraps and fresh leaves falling to the earth inadvertently provide a nutritious, effortless harvest for the foraging impala. In exchange for this long-range warning system and the windfall of food dropping from the canopy, the antelope herd must accept a brutal reality. Watching this coordinated, peaceful interaction, do you think their relationship is truly as harmonious as it seems? At their core, baboons are ferocious, opportunistic omnivores. When the prolonged heat of the dry season decimates plant resources, the Morrow Troop immediately exposes its predatory nature. Rako leads the adult males to silently surround a young impala fawn hiding in the brush. With a sprinting speed topping 30 miles per hour and a set of long, razor-sharp fangs, the alpha charges and bites straight into the prey's throat. Baboons do not execute clean, rapid kills by snapping the neck like a lion does. They tear their prey apart, consuming the fawn alive while it still draws breath. The impala herd is fully aware of this reality, yet they accept the trade-off of a few fangs losing their young to guarantee the safety of the greater herd against absolute monsters like lions or hyenas. It is a cold compromise of survival dictated by nature. However, nature always exerts opposing forces to keep the pride of primates in check. As the final rays of sunlight dip behind the cliffs, the Valley of Ash shifts into a terrifying state. The noisy shrieks of the baboon troop thin out as they are forced to retreat to the high branches and sheer rock faces in search of safety. But in the thick darkness, that elevated realm no longer belongs to them. A solitary aristocrat of the night leaves his perch on an ancient acacia tree with a casual yet deadly composure: the leopard. This apex cat possesses superior intelligence and stands as the most dangerous nemesis of the baboon. He drops his center of gravity, moving as silently as a breath, closing in on the sleeping cliffs of the Morrow Troop without making a sound. Armed with master climbing skills and absolute silence, the leopard executes a flawless strike, ambushing the center of the panicked troop's roost and snatching individuals in the dark. The lethal pressure from these silent nighttime slaughters forces the Morrow Troop to abandon their high sanctuaries. The moment dawn breaks, they are compelled to flood down to the ground to forage, warm themselves, and access the shrinking water supply. Consistently outmaneuvering lions during the day through sheer numbers, combined with their easy manipulation and hunting of smaller ground game, has completely altered the troop's psychology. The Morrow baboons have grown overconfident, moving on the ground in denser formations and extending their stays on the valley floor. But they have no idea that this ease is fostering a fatal illusion of control. The plains do not operate so simply, and a creature that begins to lose its capacity for fear is a creature with 1 foot already in the grave. The dry season has pushed every living thing in the Valley of Ash to the brink of endurance. The last remaining waterholes are no longer safe havens. They are the intersection point between predators and those forced to gamble for survival. From the cliffs, Rako leads the Morrow Troop away from their familiar positions. The baboons move in a long line down into the dry creek bed. The sound of their paws on the cracked mud echoing sharply in the silence. The sentinels continue to scan the surroundings, but their formation has spread out much more than usual. Days of undisturbed peace and pressing thirst have caused the entire troop to lower their guard. Concealed beneath the thorn bushes right at the water's edge, Zira blends seamlessly into the scorched earth. She does not move. She does not launch an intimidating roar. The lioness simply lies perfectly still, watching the primates that had ruined her hunts so many times before. In this land, lions rarely waste energy on pointless chases. They wait for their moment, and the dry season usually creates that moment for them. An adult male baboon separates from the formation, walking slowly toward the remaining muddy pool in the creek bed. He lowers his body into the mud, his hands continuously stirring the shallow water to drink faster in the suffocating heat. Then everything changes in a split second. A few individuals in the canopy suddenly freeze. Before an alarm call can even sound, the thorn bushes at the water's edge explode. Her 200-pound frame slamming directly into the isolated baboon before he can even turn to run. Chaos and shrieking instantly flood the creek bed. The Morrow Troop surges back toward the cliffs in a panic. Infants clinging tightly to their mothers' backs as the entire troop scrambles for a way up. Rako wheels around and charges a few paces as if to react. But the distance between the open ground and the ambushing brush was entirely too short to change anything. Zira's jaws lock around her prey's neck. Just seconds later, the thrashing body goes limp against the cracked, dry mud. The most terrifying part isn't the attack itself. It is the patience that came before it. For days, the lion pride had virtually vanished from this area. No more open pursuits, no more reckless stalks. But in Kruger, a predator's disappearance does not mean the danger has disappeared with them. Zira doesn't drag the carcass away immediately. She stands perfectly still in the dry creek bed, her eyes fixed on the cliffs where the Morrow Troop continues to shriek in chaos from above. From the trees, baboons can see almost everything. But the moment they step onto the ground for too long, that advantage instantly vanishes. The shrieks of the Morrow Troop slowly fade into the scorching air of the Valley of Ash. High on the stone cliffs, the survivors gather in tight clusters, their eyes locked on the creek bed where Zira just departed with the prize of her brief ambush. But in Kruger, a death rarely stops with a single individual. The scent of blood quickly drifts downwind in the late afternoon heat, drawing the first scavengers to the sky. White-backed vultures begin to lower their flight paths, while further out, the raspy cackles of hyenas echo through the arid thorn bushes. In this land, every hunt feeds more than one predator. The impala that escaped death this morning will continue to move with its herd across the eastern grasslands. The Savu pride buys more time to hold their territory through the brutal dry season. And for the Morrow Troop, this latest death becomes a new lesson on the razor-thin line between vigilance and a fatal mistake. Kruger has never belonged exclusively to lions or to baboons. It belongs to the species that understand that every waterhole, Every patch of grass and every moment of distraction can completely reshape their place in the chain of survival. Tomorrow, the sun will continue to bake the dry creek beds of the Valley of Ash. And somewhere out on the savanna, shrinking by the day under the dry season, new confrontations are already waiting to begin.
In a world where blood and dust mingle, power does not come from claws and fangs. A look that makes the pack bow its head. Who really rules this place? The power of the hyenas on the prairies. The early morning sun pierces through a thick layer of mist, painting the Masai Mara grasslands a pale yellow. In the distance, scattered clusters of acacia trees look like black dots on a giant carpet of grass. Herds of antelope move lazily in the dawn light, while in the distance, vultures spread their wings, waiting for the new day's feast. Amid the faint smoke and dust, a shadow rises from the ground, shoulders high, head bowed. A mature female hyena, whose mere presence silences the pack. No need to roar, no need for violence. Her power lies in silence. People often call hyenas scavengers. But here, she is the queen, the only one who has the right to choose, judge, and keep order for the entire kingdom. Where the female dominates and the male lives in submission. In hyena society, gender determines position. Female bodies contain 3 times more testosterone than males, causing their necks and shoulders to develop like natural armor. That is what makes them true warriors, strong, fierce, and ruthlessly durable. When the queen approaches, all eyes are lowered. Her scent fills the air, marking the boundary between life and submission. Hyenas do not only hunt, they also have a rare ability to coordinate. Each member knows exactly where they are when attacking. They divide into groups, using tactics to squeeze prey, half chasing, half blocking. Their every move is the result of millions of years of selection, of brains always calculating in their bloodlust. It is no coincidence that scientists consider hyenas to be the most intelligent of African carnivores, second only to primates. The wind picked up, swirling red dust across the ground. The pack moved in a line, heads low, tails waving in unison. In the middle was the queen, the leader, leading the way. That was also when the hunt began. The hyena's cries rang out low and sharp, like a code between the moving figures. In the distance, a topi leisurely grazed, unaware of the approaching death. The hyenas split up. One small group circled to the left. The other group crossed the wind. When the prey noticed, it was too late. There was no warning. The hyenas slid through the grass. When the prey realized, its life was already in the pack's strategy. Death came quickly, cruelly, and systematically. In the sunlight, golden eyes reflected the prey's body. Power did not need to be proven. It gave off its scent in the wind. Vultures hovered high above, black wings spread slowly, waiting to enjoy the remains. On the ground, the hyenas surrounded the feast. The queen was in no hurry. When she lowered her head, a dry crack of bone rang out. It was the signal to start. The pack was quick, neat, but absolutely orderly. In the midst of this scene, African wild dogs appeared at the far edge. They stood on a strip of dry land, quietly observing. Unlike hyenas, their meals were divided equally. When one tore off a piece of meat, it would call its brethren to come. There was no growling or order. In the world of wild dogs, order was maintained by unity. Not fear. They understood that true strength lay not in fangs, but in the pack. Where death had passed, life began. As the sun began to tilt over the savanna, the need to survive was no longer limited to hunting and protecting meals. Another, deeper, primal call began to echo throughout the nooks and crannies of the pack. The queen's scent began to spread a new message, not of power, but of a different survival ritual. The female hyena stopped in the middle of the clearing, her breathing slow, her shoulders rising and falling. A few adult males approached, heads bowed, their gait cautious. No words, no growls. Just the beating of two hearts facing their own instincts. The female's body structure makes mating a challenge. Every movement is a test of endurance and patience. Nature has placed a maze in their bodies, not to make things difficult, but to select. Only those smart enough and patient enough are allowed to pass on their bloodline. When the two bodies merge, the steppe becomes silent. A brief moment, but it is the beginning of a new life cycle. In the distance, a herd of Thompson's gazelles runs across the horizon. Speeds of up to 80 kilometers per hour. Dust flying like smoke. On a dry tree trunk, a leopard rests. It watches this scene from afar, like a silent spectator. Its greatest enemy is at peace. For the leopard, it is a rare moment in the chaos of the steppe. From afar, the female hyena turns her head. leaving the mound. Her gaze disappears into the wind. In the distance, the leopard's silhouette remained motionless, as if time had stopped between two breaths of the steppe. The leopard slowly opened its eyes. Its striped body blended perfectly into the rough tree trunk. The sun began to set, dyeing the horizon red. When the hyena pack had dispersed, it was also the time when the leopard began to think about its meal. It gently slid down from the tree branch. Each step was soft and graceful, without making even a sound. It was the embodiment of loneliness, a solitary soul in the vast steppe, without a pack, without a community, only the instinct for survival and a superior hunting skill. For a lone hunter, each hunt was a gamble of life and death. The leopard moved, its eyes constantly scanning the shadows of the trees and tall grasses. In the silence of the dusk, the leopard discovered a small group of Thompson's antelope searching for the last grass shoots before nightfall. A young antelope separated from its mother, innocently bowing its head to graze, its tail wagging slightly. It seemed completely oblivious. The leopard's yellow eyes narrowed, calculating the distance and wind direction, muscles flexing under its striped hide. The leopard crouched low to the ground to avoid making a sound. The pounce would have to be swift, precise. The air exploded for a moment, tearing the line between silence and chaos. Everything only had time to vibrate and then fall into silence. The antelope collapsed, its throat choking, barely able to escape a weak sound before its life was extinguished. Victory. A meal after hours of patient stalking. But the joy was short-lived. Only a few seconds later, a familiar sound rang out, not from afar like before, but closer, threatening. The leopard raised its head sharply, its bright yellow eyes scanning the falling night. From the edge of the bush, 3 shadows slowly appeared, not growling, not rushing, but with the familiar greed and confidence of hyenas. They had smelled their prey. In that silence, the steppe seemed to be waiting to see what would break this silence first. Would the leopard keep the prey and assert its strength? Or would the hyenas seize the prize? While the hyenas and leopards were still at loggerheads, life was taking on a different tone on the edge of the plains. A herd of wild boars were leisurely crossing the dry land. They were digging their snouts into the roots of trees, seemingly oblivious to the storm of survival brewing not far away. The last rays of sunlight faded, leaving the steppe in a dim light, where life and death still coexisted, and every moment of peace could be the calm before another storm. In the dry savannas of Africa, warthogs are one of the most resilient creatures. They do not possess the speed of antelopes, nor do they have long claws or fangs like predators. On their bodies, their thick skin is covered with a layer of sparse, rough hair like dry grass, enough to resist the harsh heat during the day and the cold at night. Two long curved tusks protrude from their mouths, a pair of weapons not only for self-defense, but also for digging for roots, tubers, and turning over hard soil in the dry season. They can use that hard snout to lift up entire clumps of soil, pulling out nutritious wild tubers that other species ignore. When moving, warthogs always hold their heads high, but every time they eat, they kneel on their two front legs. A typical posture of the species, helping to save energy during long days of foraging. Their knees are hard, covered with a thick layer of natural skin, a mark of thousands of years of evolution to serve that posture. Wild boars are creatures of memory and alertness. They can memorize the location of each abandoned burrow of another species, to use as shelter in case of danger. When fleeing, they always run with their tails raised high as a signal to those behind. This instinct helps the herd move in an orderly manner, even in the midst of chaos. Contrary to their clumsy appearance, wild boars have a simple but close-knit social structure. Females often live in small groups, called mothers and their young. They share everything: feeding grounds, burrows, even guarding. When a mother detects danger, the gasp from her nose is enough to silence the whole herd. Wild boars have an extremely sensitive sense of smell, able to detect the scent of predators more than a kilometer away. But their eyes are weak, making them dependent on wind and sound more than sight. Perhaps it is this humble way of life, small, alert, persistent, and flexible, that has helped wild boars survive for millions of years in a land where most other creatures have to choose between flight and extinction. For wild boars, survival is not just about strength or speed, but about the ability to observe. It is this habit that has saved them through countless generations. The oldest mothers in the herd can remember every wet area where tree roots grow deep, or every abandoned brown civet burrow large enough to shelter the whole family. That memory is a silent weapon that is sometimes more powerful than fangs and claws. The steppe is still silent, only the sound of wind blowing through the dry grass. The piglets continue to play, running around in the dust. Every time they raise their heads, their tails stand straight up, swinging like small flags, signaling the herd's location to each other. The image is simple but vivid, a testament to a world where order is maintained by solidarity, not by force. But in that peace, there is always a cruel truth. They are also the favorite prey of most predators on the savanna. From lions, leopards, hyenas, to even African wild dogs, no one misses the opportunity if they come across a herd of wild boars, especially the small, weak ones. Therefore, every moment of their peace is a silent guard against the eyes lurking somewhere in the grass. In this place, peace is just a short break of survival. And just a change of wind. The roles of the weak and the strong can reverse in the blink of an eye. The circle of survival continues. There is no concept of winning or losing, only a balance maintained by the instinct of all species. Hyenas, leopards, wild boars, each with their own way of life, their own destiny. But all are thin threads woven into the vast tapestry of nature. And in that world, life always finds its way. In the distance, a familiar sound rang out again, deep, hoarse, and long. It was not simply the call of the pack. It was the sound of power, of continuity, of a life cycle that never stopped. Tomorrow, when the sun rose, someone else might fall. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to return to the land of the hyenas, where power, survival, and darkness blend together.